Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of Decrypted. We're a little bit late. We were getting some stuff ready. We're going to be showcasing the machine pay demo from Stan. We've got a lot of things to go through this week, this episode. So we're going to have to keep things short, sweet, to the point, and ready to rock and roll.
But hey, Telcor, at least we're good at that, right? We're really good at being concise, on topic.
100%. Yeah, we never segue. We never go weird places. But I have been confirmed that this week we will be talking about aliens. So yeah, aliens at the end of the show. Make sure you stay tuned. Watch till the end because we're going to be talking aliens. Jack's going to be giving us the 411 on Area 51 and extraterrestrial life. But we have missed our intros. So let's kick things off with Jack this week. Jack, hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. Excited to be here again. This is, like, as I say every week, this is my favorite part of the week. I get a strong cup of coffee, just get ready to riff. Like we get on Stan's brain wavelength, and we're like boom, 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 and it's fun. So pumped to do it. Like we're talking Bitcoin today, like the market craziness. After, of course, obviously seeing probably one of the most badass demos you've ever seen, or at least the start of one. One of the most badass techs you've ever seen. Stan's going to show machine pay working in the early stages, and then hey, I got some alien intel that I can't even tell you anyone who told me. That's how secretive it is. So we'll talk about that at the end.
If Jack disappears midstream, you know that the CIA have come for him. Stan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, actually, you guys see that I'm pretty busy. I don't even have like a good short. Usually when I have like a show, I put a nice short. But yesterday I was coding the demo. Today I was coding the demo. Then I was late coding the demo. I actually have the demo, but no short. The short is like.
I think you look good. You look good. People out there, the thumbs up. You give a like to this if you like Stan's shirt. Okay.
Yes, so it's a big day. It's actually we've been working on machine pay for a long time, and it's quite of a beast. So I'm gonna tell you guys what kind of a demo. It's a demo of TechCrunch. So I'm gonna demo a live TechCrunch website. But the twist is that machine pay will run on top of this site. And as I said, it took me about a day, maybe like a day and a half to do the demo. And I don't really have any access to TechCrunch website. I don't know what's inside, which programming language they use. But the real advantage of machine pay is that you can run it on top of things. And we discussed it for enterprise software. It's very important because you have a company, you have engineering, you have DevOps, and then suddenly you want to add payments, right? You don't really want to start digging and changing things inside because usually it's already a mess. You don't want to add more mess. It's much cleaner if you put things on top, and that's the competitive advantage of machine pay that no one else has. That's the unique property of machine pay is that it's not just X402. It's just something that you can add to existing thing without changing it. And so I'm going to show it for TechCrunch. So that's number one. And number two, also, it's very important that something we discussed over many shows, actually, that for micropayments, for X402, we need to have a sleek UI, right? Mm-hmm. To have something which people use, because we've seen many cases where people do something in crypto and then it's kind of nice, but there's no UI and it's just terrible UI and people don't use it. So it's also an attempt, the demo is also an attempt to show some kind of a UI that people actually would use. And then when you start thinking about UI for micropayments, I actually thought about this analogy today. All of us, we go take a shower in the morning. We go take a shower. We sometimes brush our teeth, and they like use water, like cold water, hot water. And I can say for sure, probably depending on how much you guys like showering, you probably spend like 5 to 10 cents on water. So actually, water is not free. You're spending 5 to 10 cents on this water, right? Because you get a bill at the end of the month, and usually people have like a whatever measuring system. But when you use the water, you actually pay for it. But there's no UI. Essentially, you just open like water and it comes out. There's no like credit card. You don't put like credit card and say I want 5 cents of water, because the payment is so small that the UI needs to disappear essentially. Mm-hmm. So it actually basically brings the idea that for micropayments, the UI should disappear. There should not be separate UI. It should be kind of embedded, because otherwise people will get angry. Why should I like even use UI to pay 5 cents, right? So that's kind of these two purposes of the demo. The first purpose, and then we actually, next week everyone will be able to recreate this demo. You will be able to download this from GitHub and run it. So I'm gonna now what I'm gonna do, I have another box. I have a development box that I'm using. So I'm going to actually move to this other box and then actually run the demo, show you how the demo actually runs. So I'm gonna keep on using this computer, but also, Falkor, maybe you can.
So hey Stan, while you set this up, I gotta talk about this. I'm a geek about startup mechanics, which I think we all three of us are here definitely. After our talk with Mike Maples, I think that's clearly not a secret. One cool thing about what you're talking about that just gets my spidey sense tingling for my entrepreneurial spidey sense and business, the part of business that's really fun, that wow, this is something new and different, is that the fact that you can, whenever you can just put something on top of something and not get people's buy-in, it's such a thing. I remember the first company I started, we had this huge global analytics platform, and every single time it plugged into the CRM systems that people would use, and so these CRM systems could just block us out and box us out. And then finally we're like, hey, we figured out a way to just go around them and be like, oh, here, we'll just give you all the information here. And then they're like, oh no, we'll work with you, because all of a sudden we had our own UI. We're pulling people away from them. And the only way we could make them work with us was to threaten them. And, the interesting thing, when you can go and especially something that's internet scale and just deploy, have it be deployed everywhere seamlessly. That's I'm trying to think of an example and another business example analogy. I don't have one yet. Maybe you do, but it's it's a powerful concept.
It's it's actually, it's like contact lenses. I'm wearing contact lenses now. I could have done a surgery.
Yeah.
Right. But that's kind of, I think, a good analogy, right? I don't want to do a surgery.
Yeah, it almost be let's say you wanted to have here's another layer on that. Let's say you have contact lenses that can show ads, and so you get paid by walking around, and you see on your neighbor's house, I'm seeing this huge billboard ad. Well, guess what? The neighbor doesn't give the people permission. It's on my eye. You're seeing it. You can kind of access different marketplaces. But yeah, that makes sense. You don't need to change your eye. It's just a lens on top.
Totally. And, I can give some other examples of actually successful businesses, like Cloudflare, for instance. Cloudflare went down yesterday. It was pretty bad accident, but actually it's very, very successful startup. I think they have a multi-billion-dollar company now, started by two people, I think, from Utah. They live in San Francisco, I think, but they are from Utah. But the point was the same. Is just basically, instead of actually adding denial of service protection to your website, you essentially run something on top of your website, which is Cloudflare, and it's kind of like a man in the middle thing. Essentially, that's the idea. And instead of modifying something, you can kind of proxy. People call it proxy. People call it gateway. People call it man in the middle. This type of architecture where you don't really you keep it unchanged, but sort of filter it through. And so that's the idea of machine pay. And that's actually the unique point that all other X402 solutions are trying to like, basically you have something and then you need to modify it and put some code inside. I search like GitHub and I find, how do you use X402? You have to go into your source code and start like modifying it. But then you have like so much complexity. The source code may be like in Python, in Go, in C++, in like Java, whatever, .NET, Sharp, whatever. It's like tens of languages and so much complexity because especially for large enterprise, it's just that it's already complex and usually DevOps. One of the reasons they don't like adding any new technology is just because the existing thing is kind of running not perfectly and then kind of interject another thing into existing thing. So that's the hope that machine pay, that's kind of the unfair advantage of machine pay. Not just X402, because there will be many X402 solutions. And so let's do a demo.
Let's do it. Let's see it.
Let's do it.
Time, people.
Vamos.
Yeah. Now you
guys
like
X402. You like micro payments. You like stable coins. You like crypto rails. This is a demo made for you.
Yeah. So this is actually my development environment. You see, guys, I like black. Like dark theme. It's a very nice environment. I'm using AI here. I have integration with ChatGPT. I have integration with Gemini. I'm using Gemini Ultra, which is kind of this, I think, the best now for me at least. So I have this really nice environment, and I'm gonna like just start the server initially. That's how I actually start the server. I can like click the button. So now starting the machine pay server. It starts, uses the database, config file, whatever, connects to the facilitator. We have in the machine pay possibility to use different facilitators. This is kind of like a default facilitator, which is more like for developers, like a super easy to use one node facilitator that I've added. It's not for production, it's just when you're a developer. It's really nice to use this facilitator. And also the good thing about this facilitator, automatically gives you some money. So you don't have to like constantly go to some faucet, whatever, and get money. So I'm running it now on this machine, on my machine. And now this same machine, I'm going to go to Google. I'm actually already at Google. And I told you guys that basically the purpose of all of this is to show this TechCrunch. And many of us like TechCrunch. Actually, the fact is I think Mike Arrington, he invested in Scale. I don't think it's a secret. So it's pretty nice website, TechCrunch, lots of techies like reading articles. And the idea is that what you want to do is actually add on top of TechCrunch ability to charge per article for reading the article. And I decided like 1 cent. I don't know if you guys think 1 cent is a good idea or not. But basically I in this machine pay configuration file, I put 1 cent. So I'm just going to go to TechCrunch. Let's find it on Google. Go here. And you see here, it's just a live TechCrunch. As I said, I didn't modify it in any way. And if I wanted, I couldn't because I don't have access to the internals. Mm-hmm. But just a live TechCrunch website. And then one thing which I have is this like super simple wallet that I implemented, and it's just like, it's called Machine Pay Wallet. You could also use another wallet, but this wallet is very nice because it's slick. You just click on it and it just tells you how much money you have. It's like super minimalistic wallet for micropayments, just whatever. You have 961 USDC currently. That's because I've already like tested this thing. So I started with $10, but I spent some of the money.
He's been on a spending spree, people.
Yeah, like I was like, let me try it again. Them almost never work. So no matter how much you like this now. So yeah, you can. I actually click. You see that I bought 39 articles because it's 1 cent. So yeah, I've been testing this thing. So basically now, what you see, like, let's say I want to buy a particular article. Let's say there's this article, Hugging Face CEO says we are in an LLM bubble. We may be actually, but whatever. So what I do, first thing which I do, I actually hover over this link. So when I hover over the link, actually, there's a very important thing which is happening. So what's happening is that machine pay in X402, there is this first phase where the browser asks, or the human or the AI agent asks, how much? So there's this first phase in X402, which is called the payment requirements phase, where essentially AI or human or browser or mobile app asks how much, and then the X402 server says how much, the price and the currency. In this case, the currency is USDC. So in this case, like I just put like 1 cent for all of these articles. I could put different, but I just put default 1 cent. So you see that when I hover over the link for a particular article, what's happening behind the scenes is that the wallet is actually going to the machine pay and asking for the price, and it happens really fast. You don't really notice it, but actually happens over the network. And so it hovers and shows the price and tells me basically, if I click on this, I will pay 1 cent. And then let's say I want this article. I want to buy this one. Let's say I want to buy this Hugging Face CEO thing. So the point is that, again, taking the analogy with water, which we had in like this cold and hot water in the shower, there's no UI. In a sense, the only thing which I need to do is click. I just click and I automatically pay. So let's just check. I have now like 961 USDC, and I have this article here, and then basically I click, and I read the article, and you can check that now I have $9.60 USDC. Then I go back here. Maybe I like something else. I click here. Let's read this article. And then I have 1 cent less. So you see, it's totally hidden. It's like water in a shower, in a sense that it's the wallet. You don't almost like don't notice it, in a sense that you kind of keep on clicking. But each time you actually do it, it says how much you need to pay and how much you have remaining. There's also like very fast window. You may notice there's a very fast window which shows up, which says the payment succeeded, paid. You see like the paid thing, which opens, but it's really fast. It happens really fast. So, and that's it. So it doesn't really modify your browser experience in any way, but basically hides everything. And I think that's kind of the UI which actually will differentiate machine pay from everything else.
So Stan, here's a question. So for you could put this on your browser, but it doesn't go in does TechCrunch need to, so that it goes on every single person's instance? What do they do to make this, to implement this? It seems like it's pretty easy to implement it, but they have to like have their own Cloudflare permissions or something, or.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. Question. So actually, we also basically this is integration with the machine pay wallet. So if TechCrunch, ideally machine pay wallet would be integrated with the browser, but because we don't have it now, the user needs to install the machine pay wallet. The user, so basically TechCrunch, and installing is just a browser extension, and it's very simple in MetaMask because there's no like a phrase. It just automatically creates a random key, automatically backs it up to Google. So there's nothing. The installation of this thing is just basically you click and install it. Once you click it, install it, you can use it on different sites. So what TechCrunch needs to do, if the thing is there already, pretty much nothing, just run machine pay. If the user doesn't have an extension yet, then the first time the user actually visits TechCrunch, there is a button which says, please install this browser extension in order to start paying. So this step is actually avoidable too. I'm going to talk about this because it's really great.
They need to like opt in to be like, yeah, let's charge 1 penny, let's do this. And then somehow they set up some wallet that collects for them where they can get the revenue, right? Yeah.
And the wallet is set up like in a super simple way. Basically, you install it. It's not like MetaMask where you have like any phrase. You just click and install. There's nothing to do. It generates the key. So this thing inside has a key, and the key is just backed into your Google Drive automatically. So it's way simpler compared to MetaMask in a sense that it's just you don't need to remember anything. The key is on your Google Drive, and after all, the amount is like $10 here.
Yeah, if you lost it or something, like it wouldn't really matter. Like,
and even to be truthful, like let's say if someone compromises your Google Drive, probably you're gonna lose way more than $10. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So people usually like protecting their Google accounts pretty strong. So
yeah, Google has great security. That's a really good point.
So you just there's no MetaMask, there's no phrase. You don't have to remember 24 whatever this, write it on the paper. There's nothing. You just click and install, all generated automatically back to the Google Drive. You don't actually see this. It just happens as you just install this extension. And once you install the extension, you can use it everywhere. It doesn't have to be just TechCrunch. It could run with everything. But this is a super important point, that this extension, even this part, is only needed for a consumer, because for enterprise, last week we discussed this diagram where you can have like a machine pay agent which pays for you. So there is like an anti-agent in a sense that if you sitting inside enterprise, you go to TechCrunch, there's no extension. You won't have to install any extension, because there will be your machine pay agent talking to TechCrunch. And essentially, you will not see anything. You won't need to have an extension, because your agent will pay for you. It's like you have like a attorney which carries your money, and you go surf internet, and you don't have any money in your wallet because your attorney every time pays for you. It's just like your secretary, right? And basically, machine pay becomes you the secretary. So if you have say Google, and Google decides to use X402, they have like 100,000 people. None of these people will have any wallet. None of these people will have to install any extension in their browser, because all of them will just go to internet through machine pay, through Google machine pay, and this machine pay will have wallet to pay. So machine pay will not only be able to be the seller, but also spend money, be the buyer, have this like duopoly. We don't have the demo for it yet, but that's the next demo, where you are sitting inside Google and they're doing the same TechCrunch, but in this case it will be even simpler, because there won't be extension. But for consumers, actually, it's also possible to go without extension. It could be that your internet provider could do it for you, or Google. Someone will need to install machine pay buyer for you, and then once you have the secretary essentially to pay for you, you don't need to carry money. Basically, that's the idea. So that's actually something which is really important, and that's something which we are going to demo next time. This kind of the other side of machine pay, or not only simplifying buying, but also selling, but also simplifying buying. And actually, buying and selling are two things which will go together. So if you're like a TechCrunch may actually sell things through machine pay to people like these articles, like 1 cent. But the same TechCrunch, the employees of TechCrunch will use the same machine pay agent to go and buy articles from New York Times, or from Google, or AI services from Google, or some apples from Amazon. So ideally, something that we discussed with Mike last time, we need to have this like new product category, a new word. So machine pay is like, it's an agent itself in a sense. It's an AI agent that helps you with X402. That's kind of the future. It's an agent that whatever you need related to X402, it will do for you. It's your trusted secretary. It's someone that holds money for you and sells and buys for you. And so we have this really huge opportunity in the future to go into AI, because this can become more and more intelligent, because ultimately it both sells and buys. It's pretty important, right? So we can add intelligence to it. Last thing which I want to mention in this demo, guys, you've noticed that actually happens really fast, right? Like you click here, you had like less than 100 milliseconds delay. And the reason for this is that another thing which we do, which other people don't do, it's optimistic execution. So essentially, when I click, the wallet pays, right? So usually wallet pays, the X402 waits for the transaction to happen, which may be like a second or even for 400 milliseconds, you would notice it. Even if on Coinbase, they have like less than a second, you would still notice a delay. You see that you don't see any delay here, right? Like when you click, it's like probably like 50 milliseconds, right? Or 100 milliseconds. The reason for this is that it's optimistic execution where when I click, two things happen in parallel, and one thing doesn't wait for another. On one hand, I'm getting the article, so I'm reading the article, right? On the other hand, the transaction is going, in this case, it goes to machine pay testnet. It can go to Coinbase, it can go to Scale, and the transaction actually is being executed. But I'm not, the machine pay is not waiting for the transaction to complete to serve the document to the user, because it's super important to be fast. And that's where AI comes, because the machine pay essentially like trusts a user a little bit. The transaction is not complete yet, but it already gives the article. So there is this thing about reputation. Essentially, if you have a wallet that already like did like 10 good transactions, you kind of it's like just what you lose maximum is 1 cent, right? If transaction fails, right? So it makes sense for you to actually provide this article to the user and then wait for the transaction to execute. And that's where the AI, the huge opportunity for AI comes, because you need to manage reputation of the wallet. There could be some bad guys, some like, bad people coming and trying to get articles without paying. So you actually have this another huge direction with this optimistic execution, using AI to essentially for security, to differentiate wallets and users, and who gets to get things fast and who needs to wait. I'll give you another like real life example, right, for this. Like in the US, we don't have it in Europe, but in the US, you go to a grocery store, right? And you have a check, you write a bank check, and you buy groceries, and you give the person at the grocery store. Now, when you give the check to the person doesn't know if the check is going to bounce, if there's money in the account. But if you're like in a small town in the US where everyone knows everyone else, you have the reputation. They know you, right? So they take your check. They know you've been coming to this grocery store, and there's no problem taking this piece of paper, which may actually bounce like 24 hours later. It may turn out that there's no money in the bank. But if you're like in San Francisco, you go to the grocery store, and people from all over the world, they don't really have so much reputation. People change too much. Then if you try paying with a bank check, it's hard to do because you don't have the reputation. You can just write a piece of paper, give it and run, or never come back to this grocery store. So there's this really interesting, thing about reputation and X402, because you need to serve things fast to people. It's like, but on the other hand, you don't want to lose money. And that's where AI can come. And, in this implementation is really simple. The first time you click, you pay, you wait. So the first time you use a machine pay, the first time a wallet uses, the wallet waits for the transaction the machine pay waits for the transaction to finish, to give the article in this case. But then the next time it doesn't wait. So this is like a very simple algorithm, basically, like, if you did the good thing 5 times, the 6th time you don't have to wait. But it's kind of a not AI algorithm, but you can use AI and all kinds of things for this. That's also a really interesting direction for the future. So you see that the simple thing with payments is not really simple, because once you want it to happen fast or efficient, then you go into all of these really interesting financial things. So that's kind of that's where we are now with machine pay. And so that's where we have the demo. We didn't really release it yet. I think when we're going to be coming really close to releasing it. When we release it, for now, only I can run the demo. When we're going to release the first release, everyone will be able to take a demo and run it from GitHub. So this is coming really, really close. really close, I think.
It's really, it's opening us up to some, what I actually titled this episode, New Beginnings. Lots of new potential innovation and fun things that are entering into the space. And I think we can start kind of moving towards the market talk, Jack. Even though the markets look choppy, they can look bad, there's still innovation being driven across the industry, and specifically us here at Scale. And we're building. The markets don't bring us down.
Yeah, I think we're in a weird place, but I think one thing that's happening is, here's the frustrating thing for a lot of people. You look the demo we just saw with Machine Pay. All of a sudden, every website in the world can enable micropayments on crypto rails very easily, and from a very low impact point for an end user. Okay, take your credit card, ramp in, buy some USDC, move USDC over, whatever. The world's changing. Look at the news. You hear about crypto every day. You try to turn on Bloomberg for 10 or 15 minutes and try and see if you won't find a 10 or 15 minute spot where you're not seeing something about crypto. We're in a very different world. And then people look at that and they say, hey, with all this innovation, all this, all these things moving forward, how is it that the prices are dropping? Well, these are just markets, markets are wild and they're unpredictable. And hey, I think that, by the way, this is never financial advice, at all. We're just kind of three guys talking here, giving our opinions on stuff. But I look at that and I think hey, are things going to drop more? Maybe, but could things go up massively? Equally as great odds that they could rocket up. I mean, I don't envy people whose job is to have to predict these things and bet their career on is Bitcoin going up or down? Because it could go, I hear people saying, hey, it's going to go to 225K by the end of the year. We're about ready to hit this, it's a flush out. I hear people saying, this is the end of the 4-year cycle. I hear other people saying, hey, there's no 4-year cycle anymore. These things are just going to ebb and flow and be more fundamentals driven. And so I think it's a weird place. And I think there's equal odds of things of this journey kind of going different directions, but ultimately we have more traction we've ever had. I mean, if you're not in this for if you're able to sustain however many weeks or months this is, there's good stuff at the end of the road, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice, but I'm very optimistic on the industry. I just see it as a short-term path, evolution.
I agree. Yeah, there's the whole 4-year cycle, and how many 4-year cycles did we really have? 2, 3, 4-year cycles? Really? Is that enough for us to really say that it is a definite? There's
so many other variables at play. Before we didn't have variables. There's so many new variables. You can't. Yeah, that's
a lot of people say that the 2021 bull run was because of the COVID stimulus checks. Mm-hmm. So maybe there was never, I'm putting it out there, maybe there was never a 4-year cycle. Maybe it was just wildly coincidental that at that point it went up. And then everyone was like, oh, 4-year cycle, 4-year cycle. Maybe there never was. But to your point, Jack, with all of the ETFs and the institutions jumping in, they're going to be betting against the 4-year cycle because that's how they make money. If everybody in crypto is, the peak is going to be here, all of these people are going to be like, okay, well, we don't want that. We want to make money. So we're going to put the peak here. Scaro. That's what, from my point of view, like I said, not financial advice. From my point of view, it feels like, I'm seeing tweets going BlackRock has sold $500 million worth of Bitcoin and all of this. And it's not like they're leaving. They're just repositioning themselves for
buy it. They're going to go buy it back in 2 weeks. And,
exactly. They sell 500 mil. Everyone else who's betting off of them goes and sells another 500 mil worth of Bitcoin. And guess what? They're going to come back in and buy their original 500 mil that's now given them $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, at the original price they held. So, Yeah.
Stan, what do you
Unfortunately,
think? I love Stan's ideas on this stuff.
Yeah, actually, I can
What's
tell you
going
guys,
on,
like,
Stan?
yeah, Warren Buffett announced he is retiring last week. I think he announced, he wrote his last letter to the Berkshire Hathaway. He's retired. I think like 90 something. I don't forgot how exactly old he's, like 95. But the funny thing about Warren Buffett is that his entire like investment strategy for this 95 years was very simple. He bought things when they were incredibly cheap. He never bought things. He waited until like he always used to like have this huge pile of cash. I think even now the company has like hundreds of billions of cash. So basically, he had this two-step strategy. He was waiting until things go really down and crash and capitulate. He would buy good things, not everything. He would wait until things are terribly cheap and capitulating. And then when he felt that was the capitulation, he would buy good things and never sell them. So he said multiple times, Warren Buffett, that when he buys a company, he holds it forever. Like he bought like Coca-Cola, right? Coke. He kept on buying Apple. He had many companies, but it actually turns out to be the hardest because you really need, and he bought his like house in Nebraska, his one and only house. He never like bought any other house, and he lived very humble life like you. And then so he didn't care about money. Because he didn't care about money, he was a great investor. Because it's really hard for any person like investing in anything when things go down not to sell. Turns out the hardest thing, and then if you're able to hold the emotions, then and he's shown Warren Buffett it all over again. That's the recipe. And I think what's happening now is that if you look at, it's really interesting about crypto markets. So actually, I think like Bitcoin is not so it's doing pretty well. I think what happened, like the funny thing, the technology heavy things got hit. The speculative things are doing well. Bitcoin is doing reasonably well. Everything which is somehow the technology, the guys that actually trying to do something got hit. And then what's another super important thing, which is incredibly important, is that the volume is incredibly huge. So the volume of crypto now, let me tell you this, guys, it's a crazy number. So every time someone buys and sells, exchanges make money, and hyper liquid, whatever, right? Currently, the exchange fees, you take all of the exchanges, good people, but all of them, the exchange fees per year are now $100 billion per year exchanges are making from trades because of the volume, because of hyperliquid, because all of this like perpetuals, because all of these things, like when you have this, you borrow and buy like 25x multiple, the crazy stuff, right? The gambling thing. So this $100 billion per year revenue just from these fees. The interesting thing is that equity, you take Google, Apple equity, like New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, all of the equity exchanges in the world also make $100 billion per year. So the amount of money crypto exchanges is making is the same as equity, but crypto is only 4 trillion. And equity globally is like 80 trillion. I don't know. It's just hugely more. You have Apple, Microsoft. So basically what you have now, the crypto market is tiny compared to equity market. Tiny. But they generate the same amount of volume, the huge volume, and the same amount of fees. So basically what happened is this very bad transition for humans, for small users, from hodling to gambling. Essentially, people used to hodl, and then people would hodl Bitcoin or this or that and hope, like Warren Buffett, right? This, unfortunately, but it doesn't make money to the exchanges, right? It's good for, Hyperliquid is a great company, but it's good for Hyperliquid, for people to come to Hyperliquid and buy and sell. But if you buy and sell constantly, if you gamble, people with Hyperliquid don't even have don't even have crypto. They just it's a prediction market. They gamble on the price. They don't hold anything.
Hey Stan, let me go ahead. If you're going to finish, go ahead. I just have something.
I'm saying is that so this thing, what's happening is that these people are losing it. This $100 billion per year is getting out of people's wallets. It's coming from something, and these are the small token holders that are doing this like gambling. And at some point, they will realize that it's not. So this will at some point actually reverse back to normal, where people will start hodling again, I think. And it will inevitably happen because you don't make money by just like trying to outsmart another person who is trying to outsmart you. Like
yeah. It's hard to day trade unless you are a big fund with a ton of resources. It's just really tough.
Absolutely.
Just
like you need to have like all of them. Like I'm just like reading on Twitter, people are saying, "Oh, this like pattern. I saw this pattern." What patterns? Like big hedge funds are using AI. They're using like huge server farms of AI algorithms. It's not like a human like looking at the pattern. If you think that you can look at the pattern and beat AI, which has like 1,000 servers and super like NVIDIA graphics cards and all of this like statistics and things. So per se, the small token holders, they think that they can win, but
so Stan, let me shift gears a little bit back to something just because so I think you were talking about Warren Buffett. Okay. I want to go back to that for a second. And one of the things that like we're talking about is like market psychology of market cycles. I think that was one of the reasons why Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger did so well, is that they like understand human psychology and they can take their emotion out of it and just observe it. Right. And basically be counter cycle. But if you look here, like I'm looking at this. So we've got like at the beginning of a cycle, there's disbelief. And then there's hope, and then optimism, and then belief, and then thrill, and then you have this euphoria, and you're like, how can we all be making this much money, right? And then it goes to like you start going down, you have complacency, and then you start getting to this point, then it goes down more, and then like people start getting anxiety and denial. There goes anxiety, denial, then panic, and it's like, but right before panic is capitulation. That's when people are just like, at mass, it's spreading and they're selling, and it's a full run for the banks. And then there's these other stages of grief, like anger and depression. Like, it's just these stages of grief. But I look at that and I'm like, I don't think we're there. I don't think we're at this market cycle. Like, I don't know. Did we get to a point of euphoria? Maybe if you're holding NVIDIA or like, really big tech stocks, but the crypto market hasn't gotten there at all. Like people finally are in the belief stage. Someone showed me this chart the other day too, that like this 2020 chart that is almost identical to where we are now, that like preceded the huge run up. And I remember that in 2020, and Stan, we were just getting started, and it was like, we were like, man, I'm so glad we don't have a liquid token, but what's going on with this market? And we closed a round that was so hard to close. And, everything was like really abysmally low. And then just like things started taking off. Like, so yeah, I think personally, the crypto cycle is not at this state of where we had this euphoric growth. We're still somewhere in the up and, up area. And it's, like, but the emotions are starting to come into play. You can feel it.
But the entire kind of crypto market has been like at least the past year, 2 years even, it's been purely external circumstances that have been pushing it, right? We had a big run when Trump got announced as president, then he became president, and then it dropped, and then we had all the ETFs that pushed everything up, and then pushed it all back down. We haven't had and I don't think, to be fair, we ever will again have a stable growth, right? With all of these external pressures and entities that are entering into the space. You think like, if the US government were to go and buy $20 trillion worth of Bitcoin to, hold in the reserves or something, the next time Bitcoin the next time the US government has a shutdown, you're going to see the entire market crash or something like that, right? That's what happens when all of these, external entities enter into the space.
I've been watching Bloomberg so I have Samsung TV, and when you turn it on, it just turns on whatever television station was on last, but you never watch. It's like their Samsung TV. I basically never watch that. I just end up going then to Netflix or YouTube TV or Apple TV, whatever. But when I turn it on, you can just basically leave it on because it will always turn on. So I keep it on Bloomberg. And then there's some really good stuff. And they had these three women. It was in Asia, 3 women. I think they're all in, like, 2 in Singapore, 1 in Hong Kong, who were like total market experts. They were brilliant. And they were all weighing in on the Bitcoin market. And they basically all came to this consensus that the 4-year cycle is a fallacy. They're like, yeah, maybe there used to be these 4-year cycles, but look at all the new variables at play. And they're basically saying, like, the bear market people are like, we're done. They have this philosophy right now that it's the 4-year cycle. Of course, we're on the way down. Look at the market chart. Look at, like, the fear greed index. Like, but they're saying no. Like, it was kind of interesting. What they felt was that there's just going to be more chop, and finally in Q1 we're going to get to a point where right now the market's so fragile. One thing from Trump and, like, boom, things drop. It's all news. It's like headlines. It's not fundamentals driving things. And I think we got to get to a point of fundamentals. But I personally, like, I think, I'm fascinated by this, but I'm not, I don't think I fingers crossed. Like, I don't think we're at a point we were at in 2022 where, I remember the day Terra collapsed and FTX collapsed. It was a bleak time.
I remember everyone trying to buy that stable coin that depegged. Which one was it? Luna? I think it was Luna, bro. Yeah, bro. I saw like this UK YouTuber guy put like £5 million into the depegging of Lunacy, and it just went to zero.
And I was just like, he made the bet of his life. He was like, it's down to 13 cents off the dollar. I'm buying it. And then
could have paid off. It didn't. But guys,
what do you think? What do you think about that? Like, psychological.
Guys, Jack, I can add to what you said. Just to give you guys another dimension, maybe to talk about. Is it even like the same market? Because it used to be like, it was early, like guys in the garage, people believed in crypto. The community was all like together, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, the same ideas essentially. It used to be like that, and it was like hodling and like small number of people. But now it's like, at least like I see, like, you see people like hodling Bitcoin for retirement, right? You see people like essentially gambling, like trading meme tokens on Hyperliquid, right? And you see people interested in technology, like if we do machine pay and like Netflix starts selling movies to consumers for $1 USDC, how much does it have in common with hodlers or people like on like on Hyperliquid, like gambling on meme tokens? So it seems to me that it's like a bit over. The thing is kind of like splitting into different things. It's like if you're like biotech investor and you're investing in cancer drugs, you're supposed to know everything about science, but it could be also like some other investor investing in some kind of like snake oil. But it's different markets. My feeling is that's actually what needs to happen, because it becomes meaningless. You go to CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, what do we have as a technology startup? What do we have in common with meme coins? They're great guys, but we have very little intersection, and like us being compared to them and being in the same bucket. I think it's actually what needs to happen. Things need to split, and then you'll have like 3 different things, right? If you like Bitcoin arguably is not a startup anymore, just a big thing for.
Mhm.
And then you have like technology, and you have like gamblers, maybe something else. I think it just needs to split, and
Mhm.
that's what's missing. And then people start like each community will actually like be fine, but things are the ways are getting separated. Don't you guys think?
Yeah. You know, that I think if you look at segmentation of who holds crypto assets and who follows it, it's a completely different beast. So cycles were more predictable when you just had a bunch of similar creatures, right? But all of a sudden we have every animal in the zoo. We've got the Wall Street traders. We've got like ETF buyers, sellers. We've got BlackRock, right? We've got government entities. We've got you know, a huge amount of more people who are more, maybe they're trading biotech stocks before, now they're trading Bitcoin. Yeah, it's just really hard to look at these like two different worlds and say that they will always follow a 4-year cycle. I think that's a really good point, Stan.
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the separated mix, because actually I think like X402 is more like we have more in common with Google and Microsoft, and to be truthful, right? And like OpenAI than with meme. So it is like better. I mean, it's not otherwise just mixture of everything, and like how you can compare. Do you need to go up and down in the same way? You know, actually, people don't even like each other. I mean, I personally think, you know, meme coins. I mean, it's okay if people like invest a little bit into them, but it can be like addiction for a person to like gamble meme coins all the time. So, you know, it's not something that I really like.
Yeah.
Complaining to my friends doing.
So here's another hot take, okay? Like that I think I haven't talked much about this, but it's part of like my own thesis of why crypto is where it is. Crypto hasn't been like touched with the magic, like, you know, like there's this like knighting of AI. That's like, you know, you've been boom, now you're AI. And you look at a lot of categories that are taking off. Everything that's taking off really is getting this like AI halo. And there's some clear things that are just purely AI from the start, right? Like NVIDIA is all about enabling that space. But you look at all, you know, Google, all these other companies that are really adopting AI are starting to get that push. Look at the energy around Tesla. Hey, one of Tesla's most interesting things is the Optimus robot. It's the AI that's going to just change the workforce, and people are buying into that. Then you look at crypto. How are we being touched by AI? Really a lot of grift and, you know, AI scam. Hasn't really like touched crypto yet. It's been like, oh, I got this AI token, and these things have all this volatility, but they're not really, you know, some of them, I think there's some real builders building cool stuff. We know some of them, have a lot of respect for them, but a lot of it's frankly just garbage. And even some big projects have been like, we're the AI project, and they still don't ever deliver. So we're at this point where as soon as I think crypto starts actually showing a real tangible intersection with AI, which I think it comes through machine payments and X402, and you'll see like Scale's website's going to look dramatically different. Hey, we're still going to support games. We're still going to support DPIN, but our North Star is getting 1 billion agents on chain. And I think when that like thing comes together, then you're going to see the crypto projects that, you know, basically get this like halo effect of AI that they frankly haven't gotten yet, other than in a kind of a scammy way. What do you guys think?
Yeah, 100% agreed. You know, we have, you know, NVIDIA, you know, NVIDIA is like that kind of peg to AI. Sometimes so is, you know, AMD and things like that. And I think it's the companies that are going to be able to really utilize it for full real world adoption, right? You know, if you look at NVIDIA as a company is everywhere and everything. It is in everything. It does one of the most, as a company, one of the most important things realistically for society in the creation of these chips. And we've seen how important it is to the likes of OpenAI. When OpenAI does really well, hey, NVIDIA goes up a bit. And if a blockchain can become one of those pillars of what this is very kind of dramatic, but pillars of new society, right? You have AI as one of these new pillars. How can blockchain be almost a pillar beneath the pillar, right? And can benefit, can support and help AI but then in turn can also benefit from the trickle down tokenomics of revenue and excitement and things like that. And I think, with everything that's being built currently, from machine pay, X402, to private transactions with Byte, we are positioning as an industry, we are positioning ourselves very, very well in this kind of new era, this new technological era of society.
I can, Falcor, I can tell you the story. Just it will date me, but I remember still like when email started. It was really interesting because I had a friend of mine, a scientist. I was doing a PhD, and people told me, "Oh, there's this thing, email." And kind of, what is this? You can just send like a message to like someone else. And the point is that the only persons in the world that had emails were scientists. So like I was telling it to my friends, they had nothing to do with it, and there was no point using it because the number of people that had email were tiny, and all of them were scientists, like really tiny. I mean, maybe like 1,000 people, maybe 10,000 people had email, and scientists were using it. And so it seemed to be like totally like slowly, incredibly slow, because it's like chicken and egg. No one had email. No one could send email. People just didn't think about it. It was totally out of news or out of anything. And things somehow like slowly, very slowly, like got email. And I was like sending email to my science friends. And it kind of started slowly. Now suddenly I've heard another person got email. But it was like, why? I mean, it was always like connected to science, maybe connected to engineers. So like, it was never like general population about like, and the email agents were like also like engineers, like command line. You say, get email, and it just text, prints you like emails. So it was like working like that, and there was no spam, by the way. So
spammers couldn't figure out how to spam you.
Yeah, and so that was the great thing. But then the interesting thing was that I would never imagine that it would like be like for the entire world. I thought it was just for scientists, and it was growing, but incredibly slowly. And then at some point, for whatever reason, I think it was around 93, 94, it suddenly went hockey stick. And I still don't know why like email went hockey. So it's like,
I remember that. I remember, Stan, I got my first email address. I think I was like freshman year of high school. And by the way, we figured, like, one of my friends was an engineer, and he's like, hey, I figured this out. If you add this thing to the email address you're sending it to, you can send an anonymous email. Because it was this like, it was intranet, like sending email and like within the school's intranet, like, and like we could send people these anonymous messages and mess with them. But this thing was they didn't even have a database to see who was like doing it. Like,
there was no security. This anonymous email check was because the from, it was not protected, so you could just put any from to. Now you're sending email, it's signed the computer cryptographically, that's you. But now the time just said, could say it's email from like
this one we had to put a code. It was a little further on. We had to like there's some encoding that like you'd put in that then would let you would obfuscate the from category.
And I remember like I had like a friend of mine sitting with me like together at Max Planck Institute, and now he's a big boss in the physics, but now he was like young guy. And then I sent him a letter from a Nobel Prize winner, just asking, basically saying, okay, can you like FedEx me your like this paper, because I think it's a genius paper. And the guy was like, oh, this guy emailed me, I'm gonna FedEx him. He actually FedExed the paper to this like Nobel Prize.
You're a dick. That's so mean.
That's really a paper, Really, basically. But I think like the point I want to make really quickly, I feel personally, maybe I'm too optimistic about X402, but I mean, I think it's like iPhone moment. For me personally, I think it may be one of X402 may be actually to a certain degree maybe even bigger than Bitcoin, because it may change basically the way we feel, like the way you don't feel we do economy. It may just totally change things. You don't know how it's gonna everyone paying to everyone like tiny amounts. I just feel that it's gonna go hockey stick, and then if it goes hockey stick, my point is that it cannot be isolated to say AI. It will be the global payment system for everything. You cannot create like a super successful system for AI and just keep it like isolated from just humans or from products or stores. I think if it goes hockey stick, it will go hockey stick for everything. It will just replace every single thing, including like credit card, anything, like everything. So that's how I feel about. But it's actually very logical.
That's exciting to hear that you're seeing the inner workings and feeling like, what is it? How would you capture it in the most concise way possible?
Yeah, I mean,
is this moment? Like, because when you're doing email, you can kind of be like, wow, like I can just send someone something.
So for email, for email, suddenly it was free. Something that was expensive and slow. It was suddenly free and instant, right? Yep. So you could send mail, and then you would pay for it, and then it would take time to arrive. So that was and actually for X40, it's very much the same, right? It's instant and fast compared to slow and expensive. Yeah. And actually, it's even worse because with email, with regular mail, you go to post office, you send mail. Yes, it's slow, but it arrives always, right? With a credit card, there was this interview, like Jeff Bezos was telling us he has like 3 credit cards that keep on like getting like refused. So with credit card, I go like, because I live in Portugal, but I move around countries. I have like credit cards from different countries because that's who I am. I lived in different countries, and it's incredibly hard living because you go try to use a credit card to buy coffee, and then it's embarrassing. It just doesn't work. It happens all the time. So it's actually worse than mail.
Right now, 5 to 7% of all U.S. card transactions fail or are declined. 10 to 15% of e-commerce transactions are declined annually. Usually because of insufficient funds, expired cards, or fraud triggers. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the rate is not that great. And the other thing, it's just not practical if you want to buy something that's less than 25 cents.
Yeah, and it can be really scary also because you go like to a hotel, you'll go to a different country to a hotel. The only thing you have is a credit card. You want to sleep, you had this jet lag, and then you go to the hotel, your credit card gets rejected, and you cannot, basically you are in a different remote country, different, and you can't go sleep, right? Yep. So I mean, with post, you don't have 7% failure rate, right? Even like 30 years ago, you didn't have 30%, like 7%. It's a huge rate, 7% failure rate. When you send like a letter, it would mostly arrive. 7% is huge, and so you have the failure.
Amazing that letters arrive at the rate they do.
Yeah,
like, how the hell does that work? Especially you go to the post office and you try to get support from somebody. Like, give me a break. Like, it might be an hour. Like, how do these people get every damn letter where it's supposed to
go? Yeah. So I mean, it's like also if you think about this thing as just like, let's say you're like an alien and you come to a remote planet. I mean, computers is the best. Money is just a record in the database, right? If you have a bank, everyone has money in the bank. Bank is just Oracle database. Right, money is just a line in Oracle database for all of us. This backup, right? So the money is just a number written in database. So sending and receiving money is computer science. It's not anything else. It's just computer science. It's the same program as any other program. It should be a program.
Yeah,
it's ones and zeros.
I think we are arriving at the moment where it's going to happen. I'm actually very optimistic. I think it will happen this time, literally. And like, I think, take my prediction. I think by the end of 2000, definitely there will be this hockey stick in terms of adoption of X402. I think by the end of the next year.
Oh, wow.
All right, I love it. I love it.
Incredible.
Hey, so Falkor, we're 10 minutes past, and we still have one important topic.
Mm-hmm. I know. But unfortunately, if we want to do the special thing that goes live in 50 minutes, I have to leave.
Oh yeah, okay. Next time.
Well, then I'll be really brief. Should I just give like a teaser then, and we'll talk?
Yeah, let's do a teaser, and then we'll jump.
So
it'll be first topic next time.
I met up with someone, I can't tell you his name. He's a Silicon Valley legend, really famous person. Started a lot of companies here, and he's kind of like filling out now. I think he's at the later stage of his career. He's kind of just doing fun stuff. And he's like, I'm working with this alien group. And they're like, it's like part of this governmental program. I can't even tell you any more than that. But there's basically like all this evidence that basically these people are working with the government, but also kind of like documenting and exposing the fact that there's been all this alien stuff that's happened that's been like hidden. And like that, we're kind of like, it's like the movies, like, hey, like there's this great secret happening where all this stuff's being like stifled by these secret government groups. And this is and I've been like hearing lots about this, over time. And I'm like, this stuff's crazy. And then more and more, I'm like, maybe it's not so crazy. Maybe it's not so crazy. And then you have someone in your own life who you trust, who isn't like, you're like, this is a very level-headed person telling you this. I'm like, holy shit, is this thing true? Are aliens amongst us? So we're going to have to talk about it next week, and I'll tell you a little more. But seriously heavy topic to unpack. And
I'm scared.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I can add to what Jack said. You said, Jack, I think it was many years ago. Now I'm doing Xbox 402, but I used to be a scientist. And my boss at Stanford, he got the Nobel Prize in physics. And then once he got the Nobel Prize in physics, he was really interested to understand biology. And so we were trying to look into different things, just like out of the box, into biological things. And remember, we looked into things, how DNA replicates, and basically the basic stuff inside the cell. And essentially, these things, what was my impression at that time, is that they look very much like machines. They don't really look like Darwinian, random stuff that Darwin, like in 19th century, he didn't really have much information. Now we do have information about what's inside the cell, and like we know very well. And now we know very well, he didn't know Darwin. We see machines inside. We don't see some random, like as he said, like random stuff. These are machines. So anyone just looking into a cell, just like an engineer will automatically see that we are machines. So whether people like it or not, if you're like an engineer and you look into this thing, you just arrive very much at the conclusion that we are like a bio-robot. So name it whatever
we're the most advanced bio-robot out there.
Right. So that is another argument, which is I'll give like a physics argument. The physics argument is that if you look at the universe, right, you see, we are like hillbillies or like rednecks. We live, very unfortunately, our planet is far away from the center of the galaxy. There are places in the universe where planets are very close. People can move around.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. We're like the foundation, outer realm.
Exactly. We are the like the village, the remote village. We're not
the hillbillies. We're hillbillies.
Yeah, it's just it's absolutely provable. You can prove it easily. You can just see it.
They'll be like, I grew up on the outskirts of the universe, and
yeah, we are. And it's sad because it's hard to communicate with us. But the point is that because we are so far away, like imagine that life somewhere appears. Would life appear more somewhere in the center or like outskirts? Definitely in the center, because in the center there's much more matter, there's more things happening. So almost for sure, like 1 billion years before life started on Earth, life started somewhere in the center. Just because in the center there are more resources, there are more planets, more stars. Well, right. Why would life start like on like unknown, like remote, like hillbilly place?
When we go deep next week, I think like I gotta say, like I think there's no way. I think it's statistically impossible that the only life is on Earth. If you look at how many suns and planets and there are, like it's just like
we are biorobots, and we can discuss this, but it's almost for sure we are biorobots being sent as DNA, as the pieces of DNA probably being sent. We just like we've been sent to this Earth to populate, but we are second generation life. The first generation life was in the center. And then it appeared probably like 1 billion years before us, and it started selling this like seeds, and we are the seeds basically. Let's talk next time. It's very exciting.
We're gonna go deeper, and we'll tell you how the robots are going to buy their Bitcoin. Just kidding. Never financial advice here, people. Is that a mind?
Not at all, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Decrypted. Join us next time for episode 11. Good boy.
Bye, guys.